So it's been about 4-ish years since Predaplant was last seen in Duel Links, so Konami has finally decided to give us some support. The question is, just how good is it? How good is a skill that lets you search for any Predaplant card, add polymerization to your hand, and place a Predaplant counter on any of your opponent's monsters to instantly kaiju away anything that could possibly get in your way? You know, I think this deck might be pretty decent. So here's today's deck list. But, just a reminder before we get to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's content or want to see some more videos and more deck lists from me in the future, please remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. So what exactly is new in Predaplant? Well, quite a lot honestly, so first things first, let's check out the brand new skill, Starving Venom Invasion. Alright, so I briefly already mentioned this skill. It's a fairly simple skill, but it is very, very powerful. Basically, reveal 2 Predaplant cards in your hand to add any Predaplant card from your deck to your hand, and a polymerization from outside of your deck to your hand. So just, right off the bat, add 2 cards to your hand. A very broken skill, but then it has an additional effect. If your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you can place a Predaplant counter on any of your opponent's monsters, which is obviously insane when there's a card in the deck that you can search for with the other part of the skill that tributes off anything with a Predaplant counter on it. So, activate your skill, search for your Hydra, place a counter on your opponent's thing, tribute it off, and your opponent got no chance to respond to it. Yeah, the skill is fantastic. Next up, we have the monster cards, starting off with my prismatic Scorpio. This card, basically when it's normal or special summoned, can discard 1 card to special summon a Predaplant monster from your deck, which is normally going to be a copy of your Cobra. This thing, when it's special summoned, can add a polymerization or a fusion spell from your deck to your hand, which in this case is going to be a super polymerization, or it's going to be a fusion recovery. But keep in mind, very important, this effect is once per duel, but we still have to play 2 copies of it because it's a hard garnet. This thing can only summon cards from your deck, so if you ever open this thing, it feels awful if you don't play a second one. So despite once per duel, we're still playing 2 of it. Alright, then we have your whatever this thing's name is. This card is technically a hand trap, but it's not mostly used as a hand trap, it's mostly used as part of your combo, but it is a hand trap when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, special summon it, and if an opponent's monster tries to battle it, after damage calculation, destroy that monster. But when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, basically you add a Predaplant card from your deck to your hand. So, put it on the field as part of your combo, search for a card, or just use it as a hand trap so you just don't die. Then we have your, again, whatever this thing is, but it's prismatic. This thing, when it's sent to the graveyard, searches for a Predaplant card, and if there's a Predaplant counter anywhere on the field, you can special summon it back from the graveyard. Then we have your Hydra. I already spoke about this thing, just tribute one of your opponent's things, it special summons itself. And finally, the final new card is your Predaplast. This thing is a quick play spell. Reveal any number of Predaplant cards in your hand, and place counters on your opponent's field equals the number of cards revealed. If one of your monsters is about to be destroyed, you can also banish it from the graveyard to protect one of your cards. A very important piece of your final end field. Moving on to the extra deck, and we have 3 brand new additions. The first one's going to be your Amblo, whatever the hell this thing is. I really don't know the names of any of these cards, but anyway. This thing, if it's fusion summoned, can add a Predaplant card from your deck to your hand, and it can target 1 monster your opponent controls with a Predaplant counter, or 1 monster you control, tribute it to special summon a Predaplant monster from your deck. So it's basically a 2-for-1 search in 1 card. Then we have your Predaplant Dragostapelia. Never mind, there is one I can pronounce. Once per turn, as a quick effect, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, place a Predaplant counter on it, and any of your opponent's monsters that has Predaplant counters on them have their effects negated. So obviously, this thing in combination with your quick play spell that places counters on your opponent's things is just going to negate everything on the field, basically. So very important as part of your end field, of course. And the final new monster is your Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This thing is just the perfect super polymerization target, especially in combination with your Sundew that makes your opponent's stuff dark. This thing takes 2 dark monsters, fusion summon it with your super polymerization, and if it's fusion summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to 1 special summon monster your opponent controls. Also, once per turn, you can target 1 level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls. Until the end of this turn, this thing basically just steals that card's effects. If this fusion summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. So, Its effect isn't super relevant, it's mostly the fact that you're just using it as a very strong super poly target. Now as for the rest of the extra deck, despite it being cards you've probably seen before, I think it's pretty important for this archetype specifically that I talk about it, as there's some pretty important things to note. First and foremost, if you haven't noticed by looking at the archetype cards, there is literally no in-archetype background removal in this archetype. None whatsoever. So if you're up against literally any background at all, if you're not playing Knightmare Phoenix, you basically just get shit on. You just have no chance. So you need to play this card. It is just, you have to play it. It's a necessity because there is no in-archetype background removal in this archetype. It may even be worth cutting the Droplet and playing Cosmic Cyclone or something instead, just because of how badly this deck sucks into back row. But Droplet obviously is just like the best card in the current meta, so that's why I'm playing it, but maybe it's better to play Cosmic, that's up to you. Alright, the other thing to talk about is I'm playing a little Xyz little toolbox thing here. The reason we're playing this tech specifically is because, well, you know, Nightingale exists. Nightingale, if you're going first with this deck, it is really hard to deal with Lyrilisk. It's a pretty impossible matchup if you're going first, without playing proper techs for it. Because this archetype, obviously the things can't be targeted, so they're immune to your Predaplast, or they're immune to your Dragostapelias, and even if you do get a negate on their monsters, it only negates the activated effects. So if you negate a Nightingale, it's still going to hit you in the face a billion times, because that's not an activated effect. So unfortunately, going first feels awful if you're not playing one of two things. The first thing you could play is you could play your own Nightingale and play a bunch of level 1s in here, and that does kind of work, it stops your opponent killing you, but it still feels kind of, I don't know, maybe it's the better way to do it, I'm not sure. The other thing you can do is you can play a copy of Ray Lancer and a rank 3. That way you activate this card, summon a level 3 from deck, make a rank 3, go into your Ray Lancer, and this thing, if your opponent doesn't have the Book of Eclipse, they actually cannot get through this. This thing sitting on the field is just a negate at the start of the battle phase, which negates all the levelless monsters, and they can't hit you in the face and kill you. So, one of these two things needs to be in your extra deck. I'm playing the Ray Lancer for now, but this one is obviously terrible if your opponent has the out to it, like a Book of Moon or something. But even playing Nightingale might just get hit by a Droplet or something anyway, so I don't know, it's sort of up to you what you play. And I'm playing this rank 3 as the rank up sort of card because it's also pretty good against Sky Striker as well, since it's the same card that can't be destroyed or targeted, which is very good against Sky Striker. But you can play literally any rank 3 in this slot. You can play that Phantom Knight Breaksaw card or whatever you want to play. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the decklist portion of the video. The rest of the video we gameplay showcasing the decklist in action, and without further ado, let's check out some gameplay. Alright, today I've got 6 replays to share with you guys, all of which are gathered inside of King of Games, but do keep in mind, as per usual, it is super late month King of Games, meaning the quality of these matches, COG is a cesspool super late month, so the quality of these games isn't exactly super high, but it should give you a good understanding of just what this deck can do anyway, so hopefully you at least enjoy them. Alright, let's get into it. And I think this first one was Lightsworn, actually? Of course, the very super prominent meta matchup, Lightsworn. Alright. Playing Arcana. I think we went first here. Right, and we did. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is going to activate our skill, searching for, basically with this deck, you want to have your Scorpio in hand in combination with your Predapractice. That equals your main combo line, so if you open either of those two cards, you just search for the other one with the skill, and of course it adds the poly as well. Alright, activating the spell card, Spell Summoning, searching for a, whatever this thing's name is, discarding this thing, using the Scorpio to summon out the Cobra from deck. Cobra searches for your super polymerization. And this thing searches for your dude here, your Sundew. Sundew normal summon, activating the effect, fusion summon, making your, whatever this thing's name is, your Ambulance. Ambulance searches again by tributing, polymerization the 2 on field, there's your Dragostapelia. I personally like to put it not in the extra monster zone. I know a lot of people have been doing that, but purely because if your opponent does set up some back row and decides just to not place anything on the field, you want to make a Knightmare Unicorn, so you kind of want to have, or a Knightmare Phoenix, so you want to have the board space open. That's me personally. Alright, searching for the spell card, Predapruning is going to revive. And that's generally your end field, is you get this every single time if you open those two cards, the Scorpio and your Predapractice. You end on a copy of Dragostapelia, you end on a copy of Super Polymerization, you have your Predaplast, and you use your Predapruning to special summon this card back, which is very important to do, because this thing makes it so that any of your opponent's monsters that have Predaplant counters on them become dark monsters, which is obviously important against archetypes that are not dark, because you need a way to use your Super Polymerization on your opponent's things. Alright. Opponent's using Recharge, searching for or drawing some cards. Melody going to be adding a Levianeer. He's going to try to use the Levianeer. Unfortunately, yeah, we've got ways to deal with that. Spalia going to be negating. Summons a Light Swan Raiden. I don't really care too much. I'm just going to let him do that. I'm not scared of his abilities. End phase already, and yeah. Sundew gonna fuse using my opponent's monster, make a Wrath. Wrath gonna be banishing. Alright, special summoning from the deck. He summons a Sego Cyber. We can now place a counter on it. Super Polymerization, it's a Dark. Make our Starving Venom. Actually, I don't think I've seen this animation yet, actually. I normally skip it. Alright, the sound effects are gross, but the actual animation is brilliant. Actual, like, top tier animation for Duel Links, god damn. Yeah, the sound effects are a little bit gross, but the actual animation, fantastic. Alright. Replay number 2. I can't believe that's the first time I've seen the animation. I've literally skipped it every single time. Alright, up against a Ghost Scout, and this is actually a back row deck, so hopefully this shows off me at least using Knightmare Phoenix. I think it was playing Altergeist. I think he opened not too well though, to be fair. Pukari grabs his Hexia. Melee-Seek, Pukari adding back to hand. Fast forward a little bit. And I think he just ends on one back row with his Multi-Faker in hand, so not the greatest end field for him. Normally he wants more back row, but thankfully it was only one, because multiple back rows are a pain in the ass. But here we can search for our Kaiju, we can place a counter on this, and we can get rid of it and put a monster on the field at the same time. Alright, he now has a Conqueror in hand as well. So Scorpio discarding, summoning a Cobra. This grabs our Super Poly, gives us a search as well from the Byblisp, whatever this thing is. Alright, Knightmare Phoenix, targeting the back row. Hitting a Lost Wind. Multi-Faker special summoning. This summons a card from deck, but most notably, Multi-Faker's a dark monster, so by removing that, he now has no more disruption. And Wrath can, of course, banish the monster on field as well. Alright, Predapractice, special summon, search for a card. Unit summon using the card in hand, and yeah, he's just dead on field. Alright, moving on. So yeah, if you were thinking about not playing the Knightmare and just skipping over it, don't do that. Just play it in the deck. It's actually like the best extra deck monster outside of your fusions. It's so goddamn good. Just because we have no other background removal. Alright, up against, I think this guy set up a pretty formidable Wind Witch field. I think he had 2 monsters and a macro as well, so let's see what we do. Alright, we'll fast forward his turn though, because it takes a little while. Revealing his Wind Witch, blah 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 blah. It's a shame this deck didn't actually take off as being particularly good. It's kind of hard for any deck that's like super monster reliant right now to be good with things like Eclipse in the game. Or, you know, Predaplants and their Kaijus. Even before the Predaplant stuff, it wasn't very good. Just Eclipse has just ruined decks like this. Like, at least Cyber Dragon is an Omni Negate. This thing, you just book a moon this, and their turn is just over. Oh, sorry, Eclipse this, and their turn's over. Alright, once again, searching for my Kaiju, putting a thing on his thing, tripping it off. He does destroy it for some reason. I'm not sure why, but anyway. Scorpio discard, summoning the Sundew. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't mean to summon this Sundew. I just had a complete brain fart. Obviously, you know, you're meant to summon the level 3 here. I just summoned this card for some reason. Doesn't matter because you have so many resources in hand anyway, but yeah, it was a little bit silly. And my opponent here summons Quintet Magician and nukes the field. Cool little combo actually, that one, with the Necro Valley. It's fine, I can play some counters on my opponent's stuff. Predapractice, special summon, searching for a Cobra. Fuse these two, making the Amblo. No, ambulance. Giving us a search for a follow-up card, I think, or just more fusion resources or something. Predapruning, summon itself back, can use our opponent's monsters as tribute fodder. Oh, I tried to use the oh, no, I just reduced the attack, never mind. Alright, special summoning the Cobra using the ambulance. Certain super polymerization, fusing away his monster. I found out, by the way, you can't actually fusion, you can't super poly this thing, so it can't use as fusion material for some reason. But it's fine, because of course, your Starving Venom can just take its attack. 6,800 attack Starving Venom. It banishes monster because it's level 1 thanks to the tokens, and yeah, he's just gone. Alright. Up next. Another really important thing to note with this deck, that it's kind of gets overlooked a little bit, is obviously the Predaplant counters reduce monsters to level 1. So if you're up against an Xyz archetype or even a Synchro archetype, you can just reduce your opponent's stuff to level 1, and they can't summon out, their boss monsters. Obviously doesn't work too well against Lyrillus, because, well, they're all level 1 anyway. But against something like Shark or like Water Xyz or whatever, just putting them to level 1, they can't do shit. You just ruin their entire turn, so that is a nice little thing this deck can do as well. Alright, which also makes this card even better, because it just targets 2 monsters and makes it so they cannot Xyz summon with them. Alright, up against Starry Night. Alright, which is about to get a new Xyz monster, actually, I'm pretty sure. Alright, can Hydra our opponent's monster if he wanted to, but there's no real need here because he hasn't actually got anything. So instead we're just going to search for whatever I searched for. Grabbing a Super Poly. Oh no, we grabbed the Kaiju anyway. I probably should have given myself the free Predaplant counter here, just for a free special summon, but anyway. There are other ways to get Predaplant counters on their opponent's stuff. There's the dragon. I'm now going to use the Predaplast, place 2 counters on my opponent's stuff. And now we can use the Predapruning, special summon back, fusion summon using our opponent's stuff if we want to. Also can Kaiju off one of them. These to make the... yeah, he's just dead on field. Don't know why I used the Hydra attack buff here. Yeah, he's just dead. Don't know why I did this last part. I should just use the Super Poly potentially in battle phase if you had like a Kite Roy or something for just make a big fusion, hit him in the face with it. Shouldn't have set this, there's no reason to. Alright. Last 2 games, or last game? Last 2 games. I do wonder if this will actually be meta relevant or not, because this deck seems really, really good until it faces a back row deck. So if there's anything like, if Ghost Trick turns out to be like the strongest deck for the new box and Ghost Trick is everywhere, this archetype will struggle immensely. This shit would suck into Ghost Trick. But against everything else, there's not too many back row decks around, so might be alright meta-wise, I'm not sure. Gonna have to wait and see in the upcoming KC Cup how well it does. Up against Orchest. Some poor guy still coping on Orchest. Come on, man. It's time to move on. Who plays Orchest in current year? Couldn't be me. Alright, it summons out a Decode Talker. Legend of the Heroes to gain some life points. Knightmare Sensitive Grave. Banishes special summons. Skeleton special summon. Makes it in gear suit. Doesn't even have the field spell on field, so he's got 1 back row pass, basically. Alright. Starting Venom Invasion, putting a counter on this. Super Polying these 2 cards because they're just both dark. Don't even need to put counters on them, I can just Super Poly them away. There's my Starving Venom. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend playing Orchest currently, especially with the amount of Predaplant going around. It would not be a pretty sight. This would be a common occurrence. Then you play your own Predaplant Orchest variant, maybe that's the solution. Knightmare Phoenix to the final back row. I think I've summoned this nearly every single duel you've watched today. Outside of maybe the ones where I went first. Scorpio discard, Cobra searching, blah blah blah, getting another search from that. Now I'll fast forward here because I can do basically whatever I want, I'd still have lethal. Alright, summoning, fusion summoning, blah 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 blah. Fusion recovery to add back the poly, add back the dude. And yeah, he's just beyond dead. Even with 6k life points, he is donezo. Yeah, dark decks, currently, if this deck becomes super popular, are not going to do too good anymore. Specifically, I think whatever the Dragon Link is called, the Rocket deck, whatever the hell it's called, is might not look too good with people having super poly just out any field they make, because their entire deck's dark. And who knows, that archetype has been top tier for God knows how long, so might be pretty hard to knock it down off its tier 1 perch. We'll see in the upcoming KC Cup anyway. Alright, up against Lyrilisk. Thankfully went second. The thing with this matchup is, typically if you go first, you're probably not favored, but going second, you're probably favored, which makes it a 50-50 matchup, which is 50-50 against the best deck in the game is really quite good, because it just means, yeah, if you go second, you win. If you go first, you might win, but it's a lot harder, so especially if you have to play the Xyz monster, or at least either this one or Nightingale. One of those two has to be in your extra deck for going first against this matchup. But honestly, if you go, just being able to win most of the time going second is probably enough to make this deck good. Considering how popular this is, 50-50 against the best deck is, yeah, a good sign. It's not a bad sign being 50-50 against the best deck. It's not always exactly 50-50, but it feels pretty good going second most of the time. Especially when you're up against someone that isn't particularly good at the game. Sorry, Mr. Selvinchuk. But this guy didn't have the toggle button on, or doesn't know how Predaplant work yet. So man here goes for his full Lyrilisk sort of staff. And then passed the turn. And for some reason, didn't use the effect of Nightingale, just decided to hold it. So if your opponent doesn't use the effect of their monster straight away, you can just remove it without him being able to get the chance to, because your skill searches the Kaiju, places the counter, and it's gone. Then I just have to get through one copy of the Robin, which has only got 2 materials anyway. Scorpio discard, grab this, he decides not to bounce that, which is fine because I'll make Knightmare Phoenix to get rid of potentially a Eclipse. Eclipse or something annoying. Hits a Needle Sealing actually. Polymerization, going to be making the Ambulance. This is basically just to remove the final counter from this. This is our search, and now, yeah, unless that back row is something absolutely insane, he is very much dead. But even in this situation, you can see what I mean by, like, back row being so goddamn good. Because from here, like, outing this final back row just to stop it dealing with our stuff would be so hard to do, because you have to make like a Knightmare Phoenix or Knightmare Unicorn or something, which would take another discard, another link material. It'd be bad. Yeah, he's just dead on field. Don't even need to use our revive spell. Could have used our revive spell here, but I didn't want to put potentially 4 monsters on field in case that final set is another Needle Sealing. So I was just like, yeah, we won't revive. We'll just hope this is enough to kill him. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.